Hello, habitat gardeners. Hello, bird nerds. I'm Grant. I'm a horticulturist, and I'm here today to share with you um, 50, 50 popular, easy to find, or generally easy to find, um, plants that are good for providing habitat for wildlife. It's really a simple place to start because I know sometimes that's the biggest stumbling block for um, getting started. So what I've got is 50 plants. A lot of them we've talked about before. If you are here regularly, if you're just stumbling upon habitat gardening, we're here every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Standard Time. But in summer, we're here at Eastern Standard Daylight Time. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Twitch. Nice to see you. It's always, I really want to know who the regular Twitch viewer is. I'm very happy that you front up week after week after week, assuming it's the same person, but I'm thinking it probably is. um, how about what I would like for to make this work? Um, I like to say hello to whoever's listening. At the end of the list, I'm going to give a bit of an update. I keep saying they're going to be downloaded. You'll be able to download them. Well, yes. My initial plan uh, has not been um, has not been able to be done. I wanted to be able to put the same thing on a number of different platforms to give you choice. Um, I've still got one more lot of tests to do, but I think it's going to end up being on Substack, and I really didn't want to do that, and um, I wanted to be able to I wanted to be able to make it easy to have a downloadable one with less details that would be free, and a downloadable one with more details that would be sort of on a paid level. I think the only downloadables are going to be on a paid thing. So I've still got one more thing to test to see whether I can do it list by list. But I think I unfortunately have to do it as a monthly subscriber. Um, Still one more thing. I'm still trying one more thing. I'm still maybe I can integrate with PayPal and do it on the website. But the testing has not been great. Also been hamstrung this week. The battery on my mobile phone has given up the ghost. I can't even charge it. I can't check messages. Therefore, you know the drill. You know how so many things you want to sign into now, you have to check an SMS on your phone. Well, I can't do that. And until I get uh, a payment again, until I get paid again, and my next scheduled client payment isn't till Tuesday, I probably won't be doing any of that stuff until Wednesday, unless somebody would like to buy me lots of coffees today. Um, thebirdemergency.com/coffee, and then I could go and get it fixed tomorrow and get back in the land of the living. Um, I think I would need 11 or 12 coffees. There we go. So hit me up with 11 or 12 coffees, bird nerds. That's what I haven't been on social media this week, basically at all, because of that. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to start with trees. I think I've talked about all of these trees in the past, two of them more than others. Trees small to medium, suitable sizes for most suburban gardens. And please throw in your favourites in your garden, or perhaps you've got plants that you notice are favourites amongst birds or wildlife or insects or flying foxes. Who knows? Uh, Throw them in as a comment, and we'll talk about them as we go. Also, too, if you've got any problems, any issues that are cropping up in your habitat garden, let me know. And also design tips. I'm thinking of starting another regular live stream where we just talk about design. And um, yeah, I think that's something that I would be happy to do. I've also got a question for you about something that I am wanting to do for the bird emergency. I had a bit of an unpleasant situation with a potential guest with the bird emergency this week. So perhaps we might talk about that when we get to the end of today's conversation. Small to medium trees suitable for suburban gardens. These are these are in most part going to be for the temperate, subtropical, semi-arid climate zones. I have begun splitting out um, I have done a downloadable file for um, for for different climatic zones. Not 50 for each yet, but working on that. Many of these plants we've talked about before, but again, this is really going back to first principles. If you're first thinking about what plants to look out for in your nursery and you want to start adding plants that are valuable for habitat into your garden, uh, here's a list to begin with. Eucalyptus leucoxylon is number one, the yellow gum. Uh, why is it? Why is it useful? Lorikeets particularly love it when it's in flower. Um, the flowers, when they are flowering, they basically drip nectar. They're fantastic, and they're one of the eucalypts that, when you get mature specimens, boughs do drop off, and they form hollows quite quickly compared to big hollows in trunks. So they'll often shed smaller boughs on the larger limbs, and those entry points become hollows. So uh, lorikeets particularly um, utilize those hollows, and small possums, also bats. I see there's there's one quite close to me that has a couple of hollows in the large boughs, and I often see microbats coming out of one of those hollows. So yeah, they're useful. Corymbia ficifolia, or the red flowering gum, uh, summer flowering, honey eaters and insects particularly, and there are a number of cultivars in a range of colours. I know I've talked about them many times, and some of the cultivars are very long flowering and extremely prolific. Although it's called the red flowering gum or the scarlet flowering gum, you can get it from white right through to sort of an orange. So white, pink, red, crimson, through to an orange. I think they generally market it as something like a vermilion or something. Anyway, you can look out for that. Aloe verticillata, the drooping she-oak. Uh, it's great for seed eating um, large parrots, particularly black cockatoos. And if you're in the range of the glossy black cockatoo, it's an especial favourite of the glossy black cockatoo. Any of the Aloe casuarinas or casuarinas are great for the black cockatoos. They all love them. Uh, but the drooping she oak, Allocasuarina verticilli, vertici, verticillata, verticillata. There we go. Let me get it right this morning, Grant. Um, Particular favourite of the glossy black cockatoo. Angophora costata, really great bark as a feature in any garden. Um, as the old bark layer sloughs off or sloughs off, you get sort of this uh, reddy orange bark that then fades. But as it's shedding the bark, the new bark that's revealed underneath is especially attractive. They have flowers that are very, very, very similar to eucalypt and corymbia flowers. Um, Also, will shed boughs and have hollows for small possums, gliders, again, microbats, and lorikeets and smaller, owlet nightjars, um, birds like that need those opportunities. Excellent, excellent habitat plant. Also, apart from being, if you've got limited space, it's an ideal specimen plant because of the bark. But if you've got like a long driveway or something like that, it's one of those really good species to use as an avenue. And it's like the lemon scented gum and the ironbark that have really distinctive and consistent um, characteristics in the bark to be able to provide an avenue. So avenues don't have to be elm trees and oak trees. They can be fantastic habitat trees. Um, Bear in mind that they do shed boughs. So um, don't plant them over an area where you will be sitting having lunch or maybe using your barbecue or anything like that, because have I ever explained how some eucalypts just shed boughs and what causes it, or what is thought to cause it? I might talk about that in another show. If you want to know, um, drop a comment. Number 5 for small to medium trees, Calitris gracilis. Now, again, Calitris have a number of species adapted to different parts of the continent. They are the native cypress pine, woody nuts like cypress nuts. Um, so cones, not nuts, they're cones. Um, they are a dense evergreen, needle-like foliage, um, from a dark to a bright green. They're a very attractive plant in the landscape. But again, black cockatoos, uh, larger parrots, um, when they drop their seed on the ground, foraging opportunities for pigeons and smaller parrots, um, ants as well. Ants love taking their seeds away when they're dropped on the ground. Um, a ideal for, well, they grow well in, many of the calitris grow well in the temperate zone, but they're an ideal semi-arid and arid plant. Next, large shrubs, small trees. Talked about this one before, but it's a perennial favourite. You'll see it in the street trees. Was very popular in that Australian native gardening boom in the 70s and 80s. Hakea lorina, the pincushion hakea, winter flowering, winter right now around me, they're in flower. Um, of course, the nectar feeding birds right into it. Also, insects love the plant, and again, they have a woody seed capsule that the big beaked parrots will also have a crack at. Um, Dark glossy green, sort of leathery leaves, uh, handle handle moderate to vigorous pruning, so they can be managed. There are a couple of varieties available as well, so if you want a smaller form, you can get that. Um, but because they provide a dense habit, they're a good refuge plant in that medium uh, zone, in that layer. We'll talk about layers next week, I think, in design. I think I'll have to prepare some diagrams and get into that. Banksia integrifolia is the next large shrub, small tree. Depending on the form, it can be a large tree too, but it's generally a medium, small tree, large shrub. Again, there are varieties that you can get hold of um, that are more suitable for small gardens. Frontline coastal plant as well, because it is the coast banksia. Um, as you get further north, you can look for um, some of the some of the different banksias. Um, that really is another program. We'll talk about that another time. Ideal nectar source: birds, honey eating possums. Um, Parrots like to rip the cones apart. Um, the cones are softer than you'll find in the hakeas, and um, so you'll often see rosellas getting into them. Um, excellent, excellent plant. Uh, Grevillea misty pink, a cultivar that's widely available. Uh, Attractive pink, large flowers, um, deeply divided green foliage. It's an attractive plant. It handles being shaped. You won't, and when I say shaped, you can't shape it to be like a sphere or something like that, but you can keep it, a, edge it along a path and then let it grow over head height, so it can fill space quite well. But it's got a long flowering period. So apart from having lots of flowers and lots of nectar, it has a long flowering period. Uh, Melaleuca nesophila, the showy honey myrtle. It's a um, pink, pink to mauve really. Ball, pom pom flower. A West Australian native, loves sandy soils, ideal for sandy soils, but can also handle um, irregular inundation as long as eventually the soils dry away, drain away. I've had experience growing it in a heavy clay soil, um, where it was uh, very successful. I've also grown it in deep sand, um, in the second zone coastal, um, so not on the primary or secondary zone dunes, but just behind that, down on the 90-mile beach. So um, ideal. Insects, birds, love it. I've I always notice that lots of little beetles also visited it. If you prune it regularly, it will retain a very dense habit. So it's an ideal shelter plant for smaller birds. Wonderful feeding opportunity for insects and for um, nectar feeding birds. Callistemon viminalis, one of the old favourites, the weeping bottle brush. Large shrub, small tree, definitely uh, can become, especially if you get the Dawson River weeper form, that can be 6-7 meters high, and its main feature in the garden, apart from red bottle brush style flowers, lots and lots of flowers um, towards the end of all the shoots. Um, it's an excellent plant because of its weeping habit, and mature specimens can offer a very dense refuge for smaller birds, as well as ideal feeding and nesting opportunities. So you'll often find honeyeater nests. I often find New Holland honeyeater nests, fantail nests uh, in the Dawson River weeper around here. Remember, a lot of these plants are very interchangeable, so this is just a list to get newbies started. Okay, small to medium shrubs. Uh, Leptospermum scoparium. That's the regular tea tree, the sort of prickly tea tree, um, dense foliage, so a great refuge plant. But the flowers are very, very native bee attracting, um, and they're very showy when they're in flower. So uh, European bees, honeybees, like to use them as a food source, but you'll see all manner of insects on those flowers. But if you plant several of them close together, that's a really good refuge zone for small birds and all other animals, no doubt. Um, One of my favourites, I mentioned correas frequently. Correa reflexa, the native fuchsia, is its general common name. Uh, Bell-shaped flowers that honeyeaters love, spinebills especially. Um, Part shade, really like part shade, up to heavy shade. Uh, they're an understory plant generally. Um, Also, will thrive in a heathland situation where they're protected from the worst of the winds. Um, Correas are great. Correas are fantastic. Philotheca myoporoides, which you'll also see labelled as Eriostomen myoporoides. It's got a common name that people often call it a wax flower, but it's not. It's not the Geraldton wax flower that is the best known of the wax flowers. But it does have sort of leathery leaves with a quite a bumpy texture. And when you squeeze the leaves, they're very aromatic. They have a white star flower. Um, they're a good habitat plant for, they're a good shelter plant for small birds, but they offer feeding opportunities for insect feeding birds because lots of the small insects that uh, that eat nectar and pollen will be attracted to the flowers of the Philotheca myoporoides or the Eriostomen myoporoides. Um, Divisia ulicifolia, the gorse bitter pea, is the next one. Hardy bird sheltering shrub is uh, it's always described as hardy, and that's because it is. It's tough as old boots. Um, it's a orange. It's sort of a bacon and egg flower plant, but it has very spiky modified leaves. Excellent refuge plant again. Uh, Butterflies particularly like it, so it's a good one. Lots of Divesias and Goodenias and Eutaxias, another one, are ideal plants to look out for if you're looking for butterflies. Gee, it's a while since we've done butterflies too, isn't it? A long time since we've done butterflies. I'd have to get back there again. Okay. Acacia acinaceae or acinaceae. Gold dust wattle. Again, wattles are desirous or desirable. I don't know what wattles are desirous for, so I shouldn't mention that. Wattles are desirable because they are like many of the leguminous plants in the pea family, even though they're not in the pea flower family. They, as they extract gases from the air and nutrients from the soil, they fix nitrogen to their root nodules in the soil, and that nitrogen can become usable for other plants. At So they can maintain the uh, viability of some of the poor soils in Australia, and they're just great for attracting insects. The yellow ball flowers or cone rod flowers, but I think everybody is familiar with wattle flowers. Um, Insects, particularly butterflies and moths, really like acacias, but they're a great soil binder. They're also, most of them are rapid growing. So if you need to uh, provide shelter on a very denuded site, say you move into an area and, well, like most people now, when you buy a block, there's nothing on it, right? Uh, Getting yourself 20 or 30 uh, wattles are an ideal way to very quickly put structure into any garden. It's one of the things I've been thinking of a lot recently, which is why I want to go back to thinking about design. I know we've talked about it many times um, over the years with the whenever I've talked about habitat gardening on the bird emergency, and I will I will think about the best way to talk about that. It's difficult to do in this format, but we'll think about it. All right, up to number 16 now, so we've still got a few to go. By the way, say hello. I feel like I'm talking to an echo chamber, but I know I'm not. I know there's some of you here, so say hello. Tell me what's going on in your world. still, still pretty cold on the feet. Uh, Pultonea daphnoides, the large leaf bush pea. Now, Pultoneas, Divesias are all in that pea flat. They've all got pea flowers. They're all in the Fabaceae, the pea family. Um, there's hundreds of species, but you probably won't find. Eutaxia is another one of the genus. Gomphallobium. You'll find many of them in nurseries. They're kind of interchangeable in that they, uh, if you pick the medium to small shrubs, they generally all respond well to pruning. You can pick the different leaf forms that you prefer. There's long lanceolate, long sort of oval leaves, or there's small prickly ones, or there's some of the triangular or diamond shape. There's many different options out there from an aesthetic point of view, but from an habitat point of view, generally uh, dense foliage, so they're a good refuge plant. But um, insects again, like the flowers. Beetles again, another a type of insect that is often not thought about and providing food for them. And being a pea flower, they have seeds, a lot like wattles, the way wattles have a seed case and then a hard, mature seed ripens in that. Um, Small parrots, pigeons, even finches, um, excellent feeding opportunities. And again, ants. Ants love taking their seeds away if they hit the ground. Um, what are we up to now? Now, Pultonea daphnoides is called the large leaf bush pea. Terrible, terrible common names for a lot of these. I just stick with the genus Pultonea, uh, Divisia, Gonphalobium. Okay, Melaleuca decussata, cross-leafed honey myrtle. Melaleuca's fabulous. If you can find one that is native to your area, go for it. Melaleuca decussata, fragrant flowers, very bird attracting, um, and this is a dense form, a dense species of Melaleuca. So, what's not to like? Uh, so many Melaleucas, so many Melaleucas. I think did we do a Melaleuca? Did I do 50 Melaleucas? I think I did. Um, okay, this one is one of the mainstays of the early native gardening movement in Australia. Grevillea rosemarinifolia, the rosemary grevillea, compact, dense foliage, prickly, bright green leaves, can be irritating for some people. Floriferous but small, red and white, but red flowers generally. Very floriferous over a long period of time, and uh, the dense, prickly, rounded uh, habit of the plant means it's an excellent, a really excellent refuge plant. Okay, who have we got up this morning? Oh, Stan. Hello, Stan. You're in toxic algal bloom country. KI only got 12 mil yesterday, according to Bomb, but I'm skeptical as it rained all day and the street was flooded. Well, I'm glad you're getting some rain, Stan. Of course, those that 12 mil is only at the particular gauge, and if you got storms, sometimes they're going to hit more in some places than others. Stan, interested to know, have you been buying your plants? I know you've been looking for them. Have you been buying them? Um, you can let us know. Let us know that. Where did I get to? Melaleuca grevillea. Oh, Hybertia scandens is the next one. Now, this is listed as a small to medium shrub, but can also go uh, into the climber section as well. But it's a Hybertia, which has got a big five petaled, 5 or 6 petaled, um, open flower, big yellow flower, green, leathery sort of leaves. It's a vine. It's called the snake vine or the climbing guinea flower. Uh, a climber, if it's if you plant it near a stump or something like that, will form on the on the stump and then form a mound, or it will run and be a ground cover. Really useful. Um, it's the flowers are great for insects. I have seen rosellas actually just eating the flowers. So uh, now I don't generally see it listed as a food like that, but some parrots get their own favourites and and get into it. So yeah. Oh, Stan, what's this? You bought uh, you bought some native plants a month ago. Are, is your native nursery nearby closing? Um, are they actually going out of business or something next month? Um, tell us the story. That's very unfortunate if they are. Also, Stan on YouTube, Kangaroo Island TV. Go and subscribe to Stan's YouTube channel. That would be very disheartening. Okay, what did I get up to? Oh, Eremophila maculata, another one I mention a lot because it's very reliable, um, uh, excellent in sandy soil, excellent in uh, areas that can be susceptible to drought or can be afflicted by drought. Um, sandy soils, but also reliable, not in really heavy soils. They don't like being waterlogged, but they don't mind getting a massive dose of rain and then being uh, drained drained away. But humidity can be a killer for them, so watch out for that. If you are in the subtropical zone and you want to try a Eremophila maculata, or perhaps even in the temperate zone, give it a full sun or mostly full sun position and make sure there's good air circulation around it and that the drainage in the position you pick is good. I've grown them in clay, just to be clear, um, but not a low spot in in a garden with clay soil. That I think would be just asking for trouble. Okay, ground covers, and low shrubs, and a lot of these. Um, uh, I've just noticed I put one in the wrong spot. All right, so I've got to remember to come back to one here. All right, Myoporum parvifolium, creeping boobiella. I mention this frequently. It forms a dense carpet. Um, when I was studying horticulture at Burnley, I mean, there were trials going on for using them as a ground cover with flail flail mowers running over them, as well as regular rotary mowers on high setting, and they did okay. So uh, yeah, handle foot traffic. Everything's going well. Um, they're they're a good soil binder. They're a good soil cover on slopes. Their flowers are um, insects use them as a flower source. They then have a like a berry. So I've seen rosellas, red rump parrots feeding on the berry. Um, great ground level shelter. Excellent, 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 excellent. I'll get to your next comment in a minute, Stan. Grevillea bronze rambler is a great ground cover. There are many, many great ground cover grevilleas. Um, Laurifolia is another one. Perinda royal mantle is another one. Um, honey eaters will attack the flowers. Great nectar flowers, but also offer lots of shelter for insects, arthropods, whatever at ground level. Um, Viola heteracea, or heteracea, native violet. Some of the native butterflies, this is something I've only recently learned. I didn't know that it was a caterpillar food plant for many of the small native butterflies. It's also forms a nice mat. It at that ground level zone retains moisture. Frogs, slugs, snails, other insects will exist amongst them. And when I say snails, I'm not talking about your big garden snails. I'm talking about the little tiny native snails that you might see, and all manner of uh, insects, arthropods, all the creepy crawlies. So apart from a nice white and purple flower, uh, great in shady spots. I know. I think last week or the week before we talked about it. It's a ripper. Um, Enchelina tomentosa, the ruby saltbush. There will be a saltbush that is applicable to your climate zone. There will be. If you cannot find an actual saltbush, look for Rhagodia spinescens. Similar um, landscape uses. Flowers are insignificant, but they produce uh, little berries. Birds eat the berries. Insects eat the berries, and generally are able to withstand, tolerate dry periods. So for so much of Australia, that is a important consideration. Okay, what did Stan say? Stan says, no, all good. It's run by the KI Kangaroo Island Landscape Board, previously Natural Resources Management. It's only open for sales in the winter planting months. They propagate year round. Okay, that's good to know. That is good to know. That's a good strategy too, isn't it? Because volunteer hours are always limited, and that's the thing with propagation. You've got to be doing it when people are not necessarily thinking about um, buying plants. Okay, what am I up to? Chrysocephalum apiculatum, the common everlasting. Now, we did talk about everlastings recently. Um, long flowering season, butterflies, beetles, native flies. Uh, love it, love it, love it, love it. Apart from being brilliant looking, you can plant them in drifts. You can plant them in containers. You can plant them as an edging plant. If you're doing a sort of a perennial border style, if you're doing cottage garden style, uh, these are plants that you can use in many, many situations. But a broadacre drift is an amazing way to use them. Let's move on to Scaevola amula, AE amula. Um, That's the fan flower. I've mentioned them many times. There will be a Scaevola probably that is adaptable for your region. Scaevola amula is one of the most commonly seen in nurseries. But if you see, and they've generally got a blue flower, but there are some fantastic Scaevolas with white forms and also some with a mauve to purple form. So look out for Scaevolas. Um, excellent ground cover. Excellent ground cover. Also, Scaevolas sucker as well, and most of them do. Uh, so they're an excellent soil binder. Just, uh, just by way of a further landscape use. Canedia prostrata, the running postman. Now, I've talked about lots of Canedias. Some of them have got really um, large weed potential, but Canedia prostrata is a more delicate ground cover with scarlet red flowers. There is a white variety. Pea flowers once they, um, and then the hard black seed in a pod. So again, rosellas, pigeons, finches, ants love the seeds. Trying to think, I've seen galahs on the ground feeding on them, but I don't think they would be the preferred. The seeds are smaller. Um, but rosellas, red rumps, all the Sephotis um, parrots would probably be happy to get into them. Um, Not really rapid growing, but a a good plant for cascading Also, they grow well in a part shade eucalyptus uh, woodland setting. That's certainly in my part of the world. That's where you will find them growing naturally. Um, Another pea flower, climber slash ground cover, Hardenbergia violacea, the purple coral pea, or the happy wanderer. I'm sure everyone knows it. Native sarsaparilla, I think, is another name that you'll see on the plant labels. Um, Depending on how you use it, as a climber or as a sprawler, as a rambler, many uses. Uh, Dense cover plant for small birds, especially. Um, Pea flowers, again, uh, with seed pods, the same as many of the pea flowers. So, feeding opportunities for parrots, um, but mostly a shelter plant and uh, great space filler. Great for providing shade on things like pergolas and arches, edging verandas, all those kind of things. Anywhere you would have used a wisteria in times gone by, think of anywhere where your grandparents have used wisterias and you thought that was nice. Well, you can use the Hardenbergia violacea, purple variety, mauve variety. There's also a mauve and white variety, and there's also a white variety. So you've got lots of options for using that. Native geranium is another one. I'm not sure I would have really called this a ground cover, but it's certainly a low growing shrub. Pelargonium australe, um, widely distributed across the continent. And if you don't know geraniums or pelargoniums, um, how do I describe it? They You'll find a lot of caterpillars will feed on the foliage of this plant. Um, they're quite a light growing plant. I know that several of the uh, small butterflies and moths feed on the flowers, or uh, they're the kind of plant that, in a garden setting, they are an I call them an offset plant a little bit in that they provide a very a bit of relief for the eyes. Let's put it that way. If you plant a couple of these, because they have a softer, soft green, textural foliage, the stems are a little bit woody and a little bit boxy. They're a little bit fragrant. The foliage is a little bit fragrant, and the soft green and the pale mauve flowers sort of pull you away from what the backbone of so many native gardens are, in being grevilleas and banksias, melaleucas, eucalypts. They have a very different look about them. Um, so I sort of call them a relief or an offset kind of plant, just to give you a different treat visually. But their main habitat use is as a feed for insects, especially caterpillars. So there we are. Okay, grasses and strappy leaf plants. Dianella revoluta, the spreading flax lily. We've spoken a lot about Dianellas on this show. Um, Berries after flowering, blue and yellow, nice sort of dainty flowers. They drop or they mature into blue, generally blue, fleshy berries that many birds love. Um, and they're a they're a good ground level because they're very thick, um, rigid, upright foliage. They're a tuft forming plant, but their foliage is more rigid. So any birds at ground level that are foraging on the ground can forage amongst them and feel safe. Lizards, frogs, everything else too will use them. Okay, more grasses. Uh, I'll start with another strappy, tufty plant that isn't actually a true grass. Lamandra longifolia, the spiny-headed mat rush. I've mentioned this over and over and over again. Lamandras and Dianellas are really useful upright plants, um, tough as old boots, full sun, part shade, um, really good shelter opportunities at ground level. Um, when the when the leaves are cut, like if you're mowing them or trimming them, leave the leaves on the ground. Birds will take the leaves and use them in nests. Uh, some birds will strip them and pull them apart to take narrower parts of the leaf away. As we always say, a tidy garden is the enemy of the habitat of animals and birds that want some habitat. Um, Also, they set large, large seeds. Rosellas again, I've seen them on them a lot. I've seen cockatoos and galahs attacking the seeds as well. Um, right, true grasses, true grasses. Themata triandra, the kangaroo grass, um, especially useful for seed for finches and doves. Um, Insects will grow, will shelter amongst the foliage. Attractive foliage can bronze off, can be a soft green up through to like a russety pink and into a bronze, depending on the water availability and the maturity, intensity of the season. Poa labillardiere, uh, just the tussock grass, the poa. Uh, Nesting spots for ground dwelling birds, so quails, um, uh, the ground thrush, um, true quail, and any all the, I mean, insects are going to be living amongst them. Uh, Lizards, frogs, anything that needs protection from the sun, toads. Uh, you might find at the base of the tussocks. Um, they're they're quite a they're quite a handsome landscape plant too. They do form a large tussock. They throw tall seed heads or flower spikes, seed spikes. Um, I'm a big fan of the poas. Poa labia, lower, Poa labillardieri. Gee, I've got my tongue tied today. Um, Ostrostipa scabra. Now you'll find a number of ostrostipers. You'll also find a number of poas uh, that are available in different parts of the country. So if you've got a good native nursery, ask them what native grasses they have that are native to or best suited to your area. They should know. Um, so you should be able to find a poa. You should be able to find themata. There's only one themata triandra. You should be able to find an ostrostipa. And I'll throw in another one for free, the wallaby grass Danthonia. You should be able to find at least one of those uh, to provide grass seeds and tussock forms in your garden. So the two things you want tussocks as from a design point of view, but you want those seeds for finches and other seed-eating birds, and insects, of course, and all manner of other ground level foragers. Also, of course, they provide grazing feed for our macropods. I've really left out wallabies and kangaroos in the discussion in this episode because I guess we're not often seeing them in our suburban lands in our suburban gardens. Um, but you'll see these plants utilised in municipal parks where kangaroos and wallabies are visitors, and indeed probably. If Glenn is around this morning, he might tell us that they're using them and they've been grazed on by um, macropods in the Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan. Okay, where are we up to? All right. Other tufty plants, but these are not true grasses, but they have the same upright, rigid, uh, tuft, tufty habitat. Carex oppressor, tall sedge. There will be many carex available across the country. Sedges, uh, really good for erosion control where there is a intermittent streams. They're great for the edges of dams and ponds. Um, Frogs use them. They live amongst them. They'll also lay their eggs in amongst them. Um, so the sedges will handle periodic inundation. They will also handle periods of dry. Um, so they're very, very useful in anywhere where you're having an intergrade between a pond or an aquatic habitat and perhaps a lawn or the bank of a stream or something. Ideal. Also, juncus. Now there are lots of juncus that are available too. Eustatus, the common rush, is the one I've used here. Pretty much the same habitat use as the carex. You could also put the Isolepis, Isolepis nodosa into this habitat, into this category as well. Um, Frog habitat, um, but also flowers or seeds that the small seed eaters will use. Um, Again, insects that harvest small seeds, exactly the same. Uh, but they give you that vertical foliage structure that we like to associate with the edges of ponds and streams, and really useful for dam edges. Um, they're pretty hardy. Like, I hate the word, don't I? Hardy, but they are useful uh, if you need to direct livestock to a certain point. Leave a gap, but then plant uh, lots of juncus uh, fringing that fringing that gap, and you can direct livestock down to a place where you want them to drink and keep them away from other edges or minimize the effect on the other edges. Um, it's important to note, I suppose I should say this too. If you are managing the edges of waterways like that, be it a dam or a decorative pond or something, you need to let these plants become established before you let cattle, particularly, in on them. Uh, yeah. So don't try and get them established if you haven't fenced them off from access to cattle, because cattle like to graze these things when they're young. Um, okay, some climbers and vines. We've already talked a little bit of a couple of climbers and vine ground covers. Pandaria jasminoides, or the bower vine. Uh, they have a bell-shaped flower. Um, they're quite nectar rich, so you will find small honey eaters visiting them. Um, they're really dense foliage, so birds will shelter in them, they will nest in them, and insects love the flowers as well. Uh, we have a native clematis or clematis. Clematis aristata. There are many native clematis or clematis. Um, white flowers in spring. Some of them are late winter as well. Um, Vigorous, dense growth, glossy, generally glossy green leaves. A great nesting place for small birds. When the, I don't know if you've ever seen the clematis flowers um, when they are distributing seed after the flowers are mature. They're a lot like dandelion seeds. Um, so finches again will pick at them. I'm sure other plants, other birds do. Um, but they're a good choice for a climber if you are used to native climbers being sort of the Hardenbergia or Canedias. The clematis give you a really good visual difference when they're flowering, and they're also a different foliage look. They're less leathery and more glossy. They're more a forest. They give you more that look of luxuriant growth that you might find in a wet sclerophyll forest, even though they are found in dry sclerophyll forest habitats as well. Canadian nigricans, the black coral pea, um, black and green flowers, a rampant, very vigorous climber, uh, dense green foliage. The flowers are pea flowers, so they have the pods and everything, but it's rapid growing climber or ground cover, and great shelter opportunities, especially if you're growing it up a wall or on pergolas or something like that. It provides a whole new space for small birds to live in. Uh, so if your understory nearby is being removed, these plants can replace those opportunities for birds like fairy wrens, thornbills, small honey eaters, even fantails, willy wagtails will use them. I've seen shrike thrushes and whistlers even nesting amongst them. I mean, birds will adapt if these plants are available to them, but bearing in mind that it can have a weed potential. So check your local lists if your council has lists of local weeds that they or plants that they don't want you to grow. Just check that that Canadian nigricans isn't on it. If you don't want green and black flowers, look for Canedia rubicundra. Red, they got brick red flowers. Okay, wetland or water loving plants. Here's another couple to throw in. We've got a Melaleuca Linarii folia, the snow in summer, uh, paperbark. It's a very common street tree. It's big, so you don't want to be growing this in a small garden. This is a large garden, parkland, farmland kind of plant uh, for a for edging a large scale um, water feature. It will be fine on a large block if you have if you're lucky to have like a half acre or more and you've got a water feature, it could be a useful addition. If you're on a standard quarter acre block and you've got a house on it, a driveway, garage, maybe a shed, and you've got a small water feature, this isn't the plant I would add. I would be looking at I'd be looking at a smaller callistemon or something like that that handles wet feet or a smaller Melaleuca. But Uh, the Bomia articulata, the jointed twig rush. Okay, this is like a grassy plant again. Frog habitat, um, uh, excellent for arresting the flow of water along stream banks, and perhaps if you have regular um, if you're using a pond as a drainage basin where it will flood and then the levels will recede and then it'll come up again, and there's that regular movement. Um, uh, Bomia is an excellent plant to have on the edge. Will also serve to remove um, a lot of nutrients out of water that might come in from somewhere else. If you do have water that runs in from somewhere else, be mindful that you might get herbicides or something in it. So be mindful of that. You might want to have a like a bed of rushes or something like the Bomia at the point where water enters your property before it runs in to collect into your pond. Um, uh, what have we got? Now, this is a water plant. This is one to put in the water. Triglochen procerum, water ribbons. Uh, I'm sure you've seen the water ribbons in aquariums and things like that. This is a native plant that grows in streams and in dams and in ponds. Oxygenator, food source for fish, uh, opportunity for cover for frogs mainly and toads, toadlets. Excellent. Um, a good fringe plant, again, for those margins of your pond, your dam, and the habitat intergrade, the landscape intergrade. Beg your pardon. Goodenia avata, Goodenia avata, the hop goodenia, pea flowered. Well, it's a pea, almost pea flowered flower, yellow, soft green foliage. Um, there are ground cover forms, there are low shrub forms. Uh, Again, native caterpillar butterfly food, ideal. Um, Ideal plant to put in situations where you get periodic inundation, boggy fringes, marshy areas. Will also grow quite happily in a drier situation. Um, Part shade, full sun, adaptable plant, not a striking plant, but a really useful plant, especially if you've got native butterflies and moths in that you want to attract into your garden. Um, Villacia reniformis is an in the water plant, an aquatic plant. Um, Shelter for um, insects, frogs that live in in your pond, in your in your stream, not fast flowing streams, by the way. Your drainage lines, things like that. It's the running marsh flower. Okay, the last category that I've got here today: plants that have edible fruits. Some, especially for wildlife, but some that you might like to try yourself. Um, Ostromertus dulcis. This is a really popular little plant. It's originally a rainforest plant, so it'll grow in part shade to fairly heavy shade, and it will grow in full sun, but it doesn't like to be roasted. So I wouldn't be growing it in full sun in a terracotta pot on a patio, but on the in the edge of of a shady garden or something that might get full sun for a good portion of the day. Yeah, you can try that out there. Edible berries, people and birds and other animals, but well worth trying. Capra brutus glossicens, the the pig face. has I really hadn't noticed this until I went looking. Lizards love eating these flowers. Um, they're a succulent, they're a ground cover, they will bind sandy soil, they're ideal in a coastal zone. But after the flowers, they have a little berry. And again, birds, uh, cockatoos, rosellas, um, Sephotis, uh, like things like red rumps. I assume that birds like the orange-bellied parrot would graze on them. I'd have to look that up, but I assume they're in the habitat where those birds will come across them. So yeah, I'm sure that they're probably part of their diet. Syzygiums, lots of syzygiums with berries uh, provide fruit for birds. Pigeons, fruit-eating pigeons particularly. Lots of other birds, catbirds, orioles, all those kind of birds will feed on them. Uh, Syzygium also have a dense canopy. There are a number of different syzygiums. Uh, check carefully on the labels for the size. If you want to limit the size of your syzygium, keep it in a container. If you are happy to have a very large habitat tree, plant it out in the garden. Uh, Temperate, subtropical, tropical, um, excellent, excellent plants. Um, the modern trees are the Canedia pomifera. Uh, did I say Canedia? I mean Kunzia. Kunzia. It's a ground cover that um, throws their sort of feathery flowers. They're in the Melaleuca family, um, so they're a Myrtaceae. Um, but they do throw small fruits that birds and reptiles, insects too, will will have a crack at. Um, what are we up to? Here's another uh, berry bearing, but it's also a parasitic bush plant, the Leptomeria acida, the sour currant bush. Um, Birds really like these berries. Um, but if you want to grow it in the garden, you need to grow a host species, and that the best host species depends on the climate zone you're in. So that's probably one we need to. Yeah, I haven't prepared a host species list, so I probably should. If anyone's interested in that, let me know. The last one is a plant that those in the southeast and uh, eastern uh, part of Australia and the arid zone will know, the Exocarpus cupressiformis, the cherry bellart. This is parasitic in that it grows the on the roots of plants like she oaks and the white ash in the desert region. Um, I, some of the grevilleas and hakeas. I'm not sure that it parasitizes eucalypts. I used to know the answer to that. I'll have to look that up. But it forms sort of a carpet, a weeping carpet of foliage. They're a really handsome looking plant. Um, so a really useful habitat plant for shelter, for nesting opportunities. and for the berries for feed for um, birds and animals. Um, Not one that people will look for in a small suburban garden, but if you have a large garden and if you have acreage, um, I would consider I would consider this, particularly if you are trying to build a woodland kind of setting. Um, I must, yeah, really must talk about that. Okay, so that's 50. I made it 50 today. Um, I've got a couple of bonus tips, but I'm going to put those in the handout. Now, has anyone got a question or a comment that you might like to uh, drop this morning? I notice we're a bit light on for questions and comments today. I wonder if that's because I haven't been on social media at all. Um, and if you're listening, the reason I haven't been is that my phone has crapped itself, and until and going over old ground. I mean, those of you who have been with the bird emergency right from the start know that I deliberately lead a very small life because I want to have a small footprint and those kind of things. But that's not very convenient when something goes wrong and you want to grab some money that isn't in your budget. So I need to wait until my next sort of payment, um, client payment, and I'm not actually doing another client job until Tuesday. So, um, so if anyone's feeling very generous today and would like to, I think I need about a dozen, the value of about a dozen coffees from Buy Me a Coffee. Feel free, head over and buy me some coffees. Thebirdemergency.com/coffee. That would be much appreciated. Um, Otherwise, wait until I get these all these plant lists up, and then you can buy uh, some of the ones that you are interested in. I really will try and get that done today. I got a test, still got some testing to do. Right, I did promise that I would talk about an unpleasant situation that I had this week with somebody um, that I had invited on to be a guest on the Bird Emergency, and I'm interested because those of you who are here now are regulars and diehards, I guess. I uninvited them after I checked out their social media, and I found out that they were extremely pro-Israel, and I just felt for myself that I couldn't sort of platform them and promote things that they were doing when I really thought that um, that perhaps they're not the kind of person that I would want to have a conversation with in any setting other than talking about birds. So I know my platform's tiny, but I reckon that we've all got I just think there's a line to be drawn. So I'd be interested in your thoughts about that. I'm thinking of drawing a line on two issues, and one is uh, support for the Palestinian cause, and that can extend beyond Israel Gaza. That principle, and I think I'm going to be far more selective about that. I have up until now, I generally don't research people's social media, but I know that people research mine. So I figure I should probably be doing the same thing. So there are going to be people that I would love to talk to about birds, but I won't be speaking to because of the takes that I'm seeing them have on social media. It's a very divisive time. I don't feel like I'm going to go after anybody. I just don't think that that's appropriate. People are entitled to hold the views that they want to hold. So I but I might think it's wrong. I'm entitled to hold that view, and I'm entitled to not want to converse with them. That's how I feel about it. I'd be very interested in what regular bird emergency people think. I suspect taking a stance like that may actually cause many people to bail out of supporting me and the bird emergency generally. Um, Fuck, I don't make anything out of the bird emergency. Doesn't do me any good in terms of materially. I just don't reckon that you can be a little bit of a supporter of genocide, or that you can sort of go, oh, it doesn't affect. Well, it doesn't affect me yet, at the moment. I tell you what, that the permissive attitudes are going to start affecting people in all manner of places. Um, so yeah, I would be very interested if you would like to perhaps tell me if you think that that's a fair enough stance for me to take, or should we take that stupid attitude like keep sport out of politics or keep politics out of sport, mate? Generally, that's what people who are on the wrong side like to say. Um, anyway, and when I'm doing interviews from now on, I mean, always when I've had been talking to Ricky, I've always had the trans flag up to make it clear that I'm a supporter of trans rights. But I think on all of my shows now, the Palestinian flag and the trans flag might be on all of my interviews, and then people can bail out if they want to. If they do not want to be seen on a window or a screen with a Palestinian flag or a trans flag, and perhaps I should put the Aboriginal flag on as well, Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander flag. Um, uh, because thanks, Stan. I never had any doubt, really, that you would appreciate and support my stance. I just think that we're at a time where we've got people saying, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing welcome to countries," and if anyone had the misfortune of watching the and look, Habitat Gardeners, if you don't want to hear my views on politics, now's a good time to click off. Or if you do want to hear what I've got to say, stick with me and give me your thoughts. This is actually a good edit point for loading up the Habitat Gardening uh, video for the Habitat Gardening channel. Oh, by the way, I haven't been promoting the Habitat Gardening channel because I'm uploading everything there, and I haven't made them public yet because I want to have about 50 or more up there so that when somebody finds the channel, everything is there. So um, anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Um, but if anyone had the misfortune of watching the on YouTube the Jubilee, uh, where it was Mehdi Hassan versus conservative Republicans, and conservative Republicans is actually code for fascists. It was insane. Yeah, I really think you just have to think about um, who you are inadvertently platforming. So there we are. I think we've come to the end of Habitat Gardening for today. I'm going to be popping on this afternoon on the Not Just Another Podcast channel. I'm going to be setting up the schedule for. I'm going to try and do a daily conversation on that channel now. Thought long and hard about the kind of content that I want to pump out for the next little while. So yeah, and and I'm dipping into music reactions too. If you're interested in that, I'll pop a link. Where, actually, when they're ready, you got to get copyright checks and everything on everything you do like that. But I've been watching some really funny YouTube channels with people doing reactions to Australian music. Well, I'm going to do different kinds of music. I have a whole channel for that, and but yeah, none of it's public yet. So I'll let you know when that comes up. When the download for today is ready, after a bit more testing, and whether it's Substack or whether it's a subscriber only thing in Buy Me a Coffee, or whether it's Patreon, there's a number of different ways I can do it. I really wanted to try and put it all in one place. Not being able to uh, not being able to do anything on my phone means I can't finish the development on my website until I get the phone repaired or replaced. So, so there we go. There's another. Uh, there's another. Oh, I should mention too on the Discord, because I know I mentioned uh, the Discord. I was promoting that a lot. I'm building out the trivia platform on the Discord, but I just haven't had the time to do it properly in the last little while. So when I get the phone back up and running, I'll get back into that. I think once the depths of winter have gone, the weekly trivia will happen. I've been really keen to do it for a long time, and it's yeah. I've got to be honest. I've been totally distracted by providing or by building these plant lists, and there's a lot of them now. So just got to get them in your hot little hands. Okay, folks, you can see down there are two ways to support me at this moment: thebirdemergency.com/coffee and thebirdemergency.com/PayPal are two ways that you can pop some spendoolies into my hot little hands. And I must admit, the value of 12 coffees at the moment would enable me to fix my phone. And I would really appreciate that. Otherwise, I'm going to be a bit radio silent on the socials until, well, unless I want to sit here at the computer doing the socials, which I generally don't like to do. Yeah, do that. All right, folks. But I will update. I will update when there is something you can download, and I will try and get that. We'll try and get the last three or four available today with also with a suggestion mechanism for people a um, wanting to suggest topics or types of plants that I cover. Um, okay, I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a horticulturist. This has been Habitat Gardening. 9:30 a.m. every Saturday morning, Australian Eastern Time, be it standard or daylight savings time. And of course, we're in standard time right now. So I'll see you next week, same time, 9:30 a.m. If you are interested in some more musings that are not necessarily bird related, um, not just another podcast, and I'll pop that link in the related channels on the YouTube down below, and maybe I'll spam it into Facebook, but it never makes it onto Facebook when I do that. So we'll just see what happens. See ya.